Did you know Indy cars at Indianapolis reach speeds of over 380 kilometers an hour? That's an entire football field every second.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Hello and welcome to Motor Racing Passion, the podcast for fans and enthusiasts to talk nothing but racing. I'm Luke Blackman and today we're discussing the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500. From Jim Neighbours singing Back Home Again in Indiana before the start, through to the winning driver sipping on the most famous bottle of milk in Victory Lane, the event has always been more than just a race. It's a Memorial Day tradition that attracts over 300,000 to the track on race day alone. It was first held in 1911 at the nicknamed Brickyard, and has run 103 times since, stopped only by World War and this year, COVID-19. I've loved the event since I was a kid, and here to chat with me about the race today, as usual, are three people just as passionate about the race as I am. I've got my brothers Adam and Daniel and my friend Brock. Now, I think my first memories of the race are slightly different to the rest of you guys in that I know Indy cars. I'd seen Indy cars before the Gold Coast. My first memories of an Indy car is actually at the Indy 500 in 1988, when I remember Mum and Dad telling me that they were going to take this race on TV for me from America. And I guess for a 5-year-old, they explained it perfectly for me. They said it was like Formula One cars just going around in circles. And I guess when I sat down to watch it, I saw there was a red and white Marlboro car in it. So probably in my head, I was thinking I was watching Senna and Prost in a McLaren, but as opposed to Emerson Fittipaldi in a Patrick Racing March. But Daniel, what's sort of your first memories of Indy cars and the Indy 500?
So Indy cars was the 91 Surfers Paradise, John Andretti, Pennzoil, number 8, getting the win. But first memories of the Indy 500 was the 92 Alan Jr., Scott Goodyear run to the line. And I guess equally that kind of historic image of the two of them in that closest Indy 500 finish, along with Andretti absolutely, well, not him choking it, but dominating the race for 180 laps and falling short.
That was a really bad day for the Andretti family.
Yeah, that race, when you just watch it from, Jeff being in, he said at one point, I remember Michael saying that Jeff and Mario both in hospital, and him still out there not knowing what condition either of them were in. So, yeah, pretty heavy. But, an iconic race, that 92 race. People talk about it as one of the classics. Yeah. If you sit through 200 laps, you quickly work out that 180 of them were pretty bland, but the final 20 has just stuck in people's minds ever since.
It's a bit like 2014 Super Cheap Auto 1000 in that people remember it as a fantastic classic, but actually, if you watch it, they've got there was 100 safety cars, there was the big halftime stop, and really people say it was a great race based off the last 15 laps.
Yeah, I've never seen that race actually. So.
Well, get on YouTube, watch the last 10 laps.
Zero interest.
Yeah. How about you, Brock?
My first proper memory of watching an entire Indy 500 was a bit later than you guys, 2005.
Yep.
That 7-Eleven Tony Kanaan car. I don't know why, it's just stuck in my head. Obviously, I remember the kart series at Gold Coast, but that's not the same thing. So proper Indy 500 2005.
Yeah. That was a good car as well, and he ran it for a long time.
Yeah, he did, but look, 2005, just the shape of those cars. Yeah, I seem to love the 2005 era in all motorsport for some reason.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, what's your biggest memory of the race? Tony Kanaan or?
Yeah, just that car. I don't know why. I was 12 and I just fell in love with that car, and that was the first Indy 500 I actually watched.
Yeah.
And pretty cool.
That was the first Indy 500 for Danica as well.
It was, yes.
But that wasn't why you watched.
No, I just found it. I can't remember how I watched it, but my family were never into sort of IndyCar. Dad was always about touring cars and F1, and Indy 500, Pretty cool. Very fast cars. That's my first memory. It's just like, wow, these things are crazy fast. This is dangerous.
Yeah. That was Dan Weldon's first win.
It was.
In 05. How about you, Adam?
Yeah, for me, would have been my Indy cars myself would have been the Gold Coast 91 race. Would have been a few years after yourselves, probably one time on a weekend when you guys were bringing it out to watch. I think that was the first time I watched it there and thought, Gold Coast, how cool is this? You know, we used to go up there on holidays and everything like that, and then seeing the race and the cars going through that. But then for the Indy 500 for myself, probably would have been mid-90s from memory watching it there. You know, you've got the Marlboro Penske cars. They always kind of stick into my memory for it. I don't know what it is about cigarette-sponsored cars, but I don't know, whatever you throw on them, they kind of look right in the right spot for it there. But, you know, Alonso Jr. was the one that stuck out in my mind straight from the bat. You know, he was in the Valvoline car, then moved across to Roger Penske and ran through there for the first few years. But I'd probably have to say the early 90s was Indy 500 was where it was for me. For it's getting back up there in recent years with it there. But, yeah, they were my first memories of it there. And I think it's the iconic shot between the short shoot between turn 1 and 2. They had the flowers in the corner, and when they'll come back from the ad breaks or go into an ad break, they'll throw up the timing score and watch the cars, you know, get right up close to the wall there. It's just that iconic shot when I think Indy, and that's my memory of it, is that shot there for it there. And unfortunately, a few have come unstuck into that short shoot.
So of all the things to do with Indianapolis, the milk, the singing of Back Home Again in Indiana, the thing you remember about Indianapolis is flowers outside the wall in turn 2.
It is that cut shot, when they kind of flutter in the cars they go past,
It is good.
All the other ones there build up to the event, but when you think of, like, one of the things that stick in your memory, like, those things are there for that. But, yeah.
That was an early 90s thing with the telecast. Yeah, they had the camera and the flowers. They tried doing it again probably mid to late 2000s, just not with as many flowers.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like.
Budget cuts.
Yeah, flower cuts. So what would be your favourite tradition of the 500?
For mine, it was actually the parade the day before, the Saturday before the race. For me, that's just obviously all the drivers parade through the town, sitting on open top cars. The city embraces it. Everyone comes down, lines the streets. I just think that shows how much Indianapolis, the city, loves the event, gets behind the event. It's actually part of its identity. So, yeah, for me, that's jumping the milk's good. 11 rows of 3 is good. But I just think, just the way it takes over that town for the month of May, or the 2.5 weeks of May these days. But, that's for me.
The parade is pretty huge. And even they send through the former drivers go through and in it, and it just the whole town takes off.
Trophy, leads the pack, and and it's it's an opportunity to get up close to the drivers too, which I'm sure we'll chat about. But it's one thing I found so good about the event, how close you can get to the drivers in Gasoline Alley, but also in the parade. Like, they'll come and sign autographs, fans lining the streets, stop the cars, jump out. So, yeah, incredible.
How about you, Brock?
It's the flyover with the last word of the national anthem.
Yeah.
It's just so American. I don't know. It's my favourite part of the race. I love it. And whenever they mess up the timing, I get so annoyed.
Well, I was going to say that actually they seem to get the timing pretty much right.
Yeah, I think 2014 was like they nailed. I think it was Leanne Rhymes singing it, and she was sort of stringing out the last 3 words, waiting for them to fly over. But I don't know. I love that. I think to see it live, that would be the highlight of my week over there. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. What about you, Adam?
I think it's the whole spectacle of, like, qualifying. You got practice, rookie practice into qualifying, then it's the whole bump day aspect. Like, I know when you had very much oversubscribed fields, like, it was a big event for it. It's just something completely different, which how they organise their qualifying to completely everything else in motorsport. That tradition is just unique for itself in the fashion they do it. It's three or four chances they get for qualifying
Oh.
on bump day.
Back in the day, it was originally, if you entered a car, there were 4 days of qualifying. You could have 3 goes at setting a time,
Yeah.
but the moment you finished your 4th lap in qualifying, that was it.
Okay. So you could pull out.
You could pull out twice,
Yep.
and on your 3rd go, you either had to finish the lap, or if you pulled out, you were
That was your time
waved off,
locked in.
yeah.
Well,
And basically, that's why a lot of teams would enter T cars and spare cars, because then you could then try and go with a spare car.
That's cost efficient.
Yeah.
back in the cigarette days when money wasn't an option for it there. But I think with that's kind of the spectacle that you get, and how many big names. I'm sure we're probably talking that a bit later, but either they stuffed up their qualifying, blew a motor, blew a turbo back in the day, everything there, and weren't able to qualify. And then it was the whole backstage political thing of buying rides or pulling other cars to do things like that. Like, it's that whole unique aspect to get it in. And as they say, it's the biggest race in the world, as they like to call it. So,
Well, people would literally risk their life and lose their life just trying to make the field. Let alone, risk their life for 200 laps in the race. Like, people have been killed making desperate runs just to try and qualify on the last row.
I think Adam's nailed it. I think bump day is the best tradition of that event, because it shows what people are willing to do to make it in there. So, and it's created so many iconic moments that people talk about now. I think Willie T bumping his way in, I think it was 91.
91, yep.
Like, incredible. The whole pit lane just coming out to meet him as he walked his car because the engine was shut off, I think, because they were worried the Buick was going to blow itself. And him just standing up in the seat of the car as it's rolling, and the whole pit lane coming out to greet him. Incredible. You got Roger Penske, 95, trialling Reynards, Lolas, borrowing Ray Hall's Lola because his car's not getting into the field. I think Al Unser and Emerson tried 3 different car and they maintained engine combination, I think, but chassis just to get themselves into the field, and couldn't make it. And then
if Emma had stuck with one of his laps,
he
could have qualified, but they didn't think it was going to be, so they waved him in.
But I think even recently, you look as far back as last year, Fernando coming with McLaren, and they just weren't quick enough to get it there.
Didn't they get their imperial and metric messed up on the gear ratios?
That was one, and another bit
bottoming out through the corner. Yeah,
wasn't it the original test of the car at Texas? That no one had ordered a steering wheel.
Yeah, that's right.
And Zach Brown
Something
had to turn up with had to find the steering wheel.
And they repainted the spare chassis because it wasn't the right shade of orange. So when he binned it in practice, they couldn't run the day because they didn't have a spare car because it was off being painted in a different shade of orange. Like, just comedy.
It was just
errors.
messed up. But you look at that, like, he didn't qualify, and you go back in all the previous years where a big name and a big team didn't qualify, they paid someone else to take their ride or did a deal with them to do it, but they stood up and went, we weren't quick enough, we're not going to do it, and they just didn't qualify. So I think you got both aspects. Like, you look at Roger Penske, build up his name around the Indy 500 and amongst other things in IndyCar racing for it there, and did whatever he could to get there. But, I know the want was there from Fernando and McLaren to get there, but they just couldn't get their act together to get it on the grid last year. So I guess that's the steep. But I think it was talking to maybe Will Power or Scott Dixon about, like, what they have to do on a qualifying lap at Indy was it's mind over matter. Like, you have to be at 100% throttle going into turn 1 and at the end of coming into turn 3 off the back straight, that some of the drivers overlap their left foot over their right foot, so they know they've got 100% throttle, because there's drivers 100% throttle, and then there's the engineer 100% throttle, which can be like 97, 98%, but that could be 5 mile an hour on your lap there, easy. And it's that whole thing of risking it at trying to go on there flat out on qualifying trim with it there to get it. And I guess that's what you said before, risking your life to get on the grid. So I think that just sums up the importance of the race to drivers.
The other one, bump day one that I think is an incredible story is 2010. Sebastian Saavedra had a time. He went to try and better it, but he didn't take the flag because he crashed. Was sitting in hospital. He was out of the race. Then Paul Tracy and one other driver pulled their times.
Jay Howard.
Yeah, it went slower, and he found out in hospital that he'd made the race after he'd crashed. Yeah. And it was just those kind of unique circumstances that actually play out through bump day which, as we said before, I think that's nailed it, Adam, from what's the most unique and part of this race.
And I don't think it can work anywhere else in the world. Like you pick up that and say you put it in Le Mans or you put it, Daytona 500 or any other iconic race in the world, and it doesn't work. Like, I think it's just unique to Indy for that format. It works at Indy. It works for the series. And for that, for me, that's what it is.
Well, I was lucky enough to go to the 2011 Indy 500 along with Daniel. And Daniel's also been back in 2016. But the 2011 one, we got to witness a really good bump day.
Yeah, which appeared out of almost nowhere.
Yeah, it's sort of it was a wet day, but it dried out relatively quick. But there was a real lull, sort of with maybe 2 hours to go, where cars were going out and just Andretti racing was struggling.
But they're in the field, yeah.
Yeah, particularly with Marco Andretti, Ron Hunter-Reay, and Mike Conway.
Yep.
And there was a period with about 2 hours to go where cars were going out and having a go, but
it was the sun. So the heat had got up, and the track wasn't at a time where you were going to go faster.
And then at one point, Alex Lloyd went out in one of Dale Coyne's cars just to have a crack, and then because the speed had show up when they finished a lap, and everyone was used to the speeds were way off, trying to improve anyone's qualifying time. So he goes out and does a lap, and then all of a sudden, the time flashed up that it was good enough to make the field on his first lap. And just the whole crowd, because we were sitting, we'd moved around during the day, but for the last hour, we moved in to sit behind the pit lane where the cars were in line going out to qualify. And just the whole crowd just sort of lifted up.
Yeah.
And you could
what
tell
sort of crowd are you talking, like on qualifying day there?
I couldn't do it, but you know what I mean? It's one of those things, there probably was 15,000, 20,000, but around Indianapolis it looks non-existent. As Luke said too, there was one of the biggest downpours I've ever experienced there in the morning at about 11 o'clock. So we went from thinking we'd get no running because it'd be rained out to then so they qualified the final 8, then this lull where no one could get near the bubble time. And then, and then this last half hour went from nothing. Lloydie comes out, drops a lap, and then that kicked everyone else into gear. And you're right, it just kind of enthused the whole crowd, brought people back to the edge of the track.
Because I think that put Lloyd in the field. Yeah. And did it bump Marco out?
Yeah,
Marco went out pretty much. Marco went out next, and he pretty much just flew. Like he easily qualified in the field.
I think Lloyd, because then Conway had another go, and he cooked it. He didn't go faster.
Yeah.
And then it was because Marco left the pits when the gun went off. So Marco's lap to put him in the race happened after the gun.
Yeah, yeah.
And Hunter-Reay was next in line. So Hunter-Reay didn't even get a go.
Yeah. So right in front of us, Hunter-Reay's just been knocked out of the field, 34th fastest, and we're sitting right behind him, and he's got out of the car, and you could see he was pretty dejected. And then all the crew, TV crews are in his face asking him questions, and I think we saw later when we saw the video, he just said he never imagined he wouldn't be in a position like this.
And Andretti that year had 2 cars didn't qualify as well. Obviously, they bought one in at Brunel and Kira's expense, but
I guess that's one of the unique things for motorsport. Like, you think of that, 100% dejected, qualifying for the biggest race of the year for themselves, and you step out of the car and the first thing you get is a microphone in your face of asking, how do you feel? Like, look at every other sport in the world for it there. They're like, whether it's a ball sport, Olympics or whatever like that, they've got that little bit of time before they front the media. But it's unique to motorsport that
But I
You
think
get that for it there.
football's tried to recreate that now. You think they do their halftime interviews as they're
Yeah.
walking off the field. So, but yeah,
But at
that's-
least they've got that time from the last play because the media gets in 15 metres off the touchline, depending on where it's at, for it there. So the players kind of got their time to catch themselves. But to that, like you think of Ryan Hunter-Reay there, he straight out of the bat, get to microphone. And how do you feel you didn't qualify after you were next in line? Like I don't know what his response was. I can't
he was
recall there.
pretty good about it. He was just like, we weren't quick enough. What do you do?
I have an important question.
Yeah, hit me.
Are the Dagwood dogs at Indy as good as the ones that were at Oran Park?
I don't know if I remember seeing a Dagwood dog. What they sold these massive tenderloins, didn't they?
They did. They're awesome.
They were impressive.
They flop off the side of your plate. They're that big. What were they called?
Yeah, they were, what are they?
Did you
Tenderloins.
get,
Yeah.
that?
Because
Did
you
you get
had
the
things-
nacho hats?
No,
Is
you
that,
didn't see
is
one
that
of
a
those.
thing or is that just in movies?
Simpsons.
No, I think if you went to the baseball, you get your Mexican hats.
So you didn't get a nacho hat at Indy?
No.
Well, that's disappointing.
We had
isn't it?
we had Brickyard burgers.
Brickyard burgers.
Brickyard burgers. That's
Yeah,
cool.
that was pretty good.
They were good. But it was funny in Australia when you go to, if you order a burger, it comes with all the sauce and all the bits and pieces on it. In America, we ordered our Brickyard burger at the track. Comes to it, you just pretty much get. I don't know. Did you even get the cheese on it?
Yeah, no, that is. It's just that's
It's
just
the American style.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
You
you
get
go
your
and
food,
you add on.
condiments.
Yeah. So you go to the condiment section and then I think that was our first sort of exposure to food. But do you know the best thing to buy at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? Ice cream sandwiches.
Okay.
They're
probably
like
fair
they
enough,
are like
like a Maxi Bond, but on steroids.
I mean they're proper. The
Proper American.
the cookie part of it are the size of a slice of bread.
Yeah, right.
Just
Do you,
you love
No,
you
no,
love
I was just thinking. I was like, this is what the listeners want, isn't it?
Well, enticing them over to Indy. What are they going?
you got to eat when you go to when you go to the race.
Do you know the best part about Indianapolis traditions as well is the fact that you can bring your own food and drinks into the stands.
Yeah.
So none of this Australian things where you've got to pay $10 for a beer. You can go down to your local Kroger's supermarket, get your slab of Budweisers or Millers or whatever you want, and
50 cents a can or
yeah,
whatever it is.
and no worries. Bring your cooler into the crowd and just
Well,
sit
actually,
there.
That's pretty cool.
On race day when we got there, remember there were guys standing in line. They'd pass the coolers up
Yeah,
to your seat,
it's like
and
a
then
conveyor belt.
So you weren't sort of carrying it as you got on the bleachers, sort of to get into your seat. People would pass it along, and then with your seat, and then you'd be able to shuffle your way down, and you sit down. Your drinks are all there, and
genuinely curious as well. I'm a terrible photographer at racetracks. It's always blurred half the car in the shot, and that car's doing 200. So, how do you go taking a photo of them going that fast? Is it actually quite difficult?
yeah, it's hard enough. I mean, the cars come past so fast; it's hard enough for your head to keep up. Particularly if
Really?
you're on the straight. In the corners, it's okay because sort of the cars sort of come at you, and then
Yeah.
But on the straight, I mean, the cars, your head can't follow how fast
Yeah, well,
they're
I
going.
mean, literally, like I said at the start of the podcast, it's over 100 meters a second,
Yeah.
which is pretty mind-boggling. I can't imagine seeing a crash at that speed in real life would just be horrendous.
And the catch fencing as well. It's quite tall for obvious reasons as well. So even trying to get a shot, like a clear shot's pretty tough.
so they look like they're going 100 meters a second.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Basically, all my photos, any clear photo I had was taken under a pace car.
That's awesome.
You could get a photo of that, but I
Well,
mean,
is it one of
the
those
car's going
things-
full speed. It's
The higher in the stand you are, obviously you're above the catch fencing then. For there, obviously you need a longer lens to zoom in on them for that. But is that where it would be a bit easier probably to take a photo the higher up in the stand you are with a longer lens than being obviously right down on the fence? You're going to get the raw speed of it there.
If you're up in some of the vistas, the fork turns, then you can shoot down. And do you know what I mean? Especially if you're at the end of the two straights, turn 1, turn 3, then obviously you're looking at them coming at you, so you can that's where you probably get your best shots.
Yeah.
But to be able to get those vista seats is they go like within minutes. So
But on that, so obviously it's the whole month of May tradition and everything like that. So when you both went, so obviously you've been twice and Luke, you've been yourself, did you spend the whole time when you're there at the track, or did you spend time away from the track in between? Like every opening session, were you there every day, or did you try and space it out as much?
No. So the good part about is, I think from memory, Luke, we went bump day through to the race.
Yeah.
And I did the same.
We flew in the Saturday afternoon, which was pole day at the time, and just the way things worked out, we couldn't get there. We got we went via Las Vegas, and
worth it.
Yeah, flew in the Saturday Arvo. I think we listened to the
radio broadcast,
the Fast 9 on the radio as we flew in, because we flew over the track as well on the way in, because I think there'd been a rain delay as well on the Saturday. We flew over, and then Sunday just straight to the track, and I mean you walk in and just the size of everything, it just
How does the sound
eyes
compare on, say, bump day compared to race day of the cars? Obviously, you've got up to 250,000 people there on race day. How does that sound? Like, obviously, the cars are going to echo a lot more on, say, a bump day where there's 15,000 people compared to 250. Does that where you can just hear, everything, and then on race day you can just hear where you are yourselves with it, crowd cheering and everything?
I was going to say that on a race day too, with 33 cars on track, like that dominates. Do you know what I mean? Whereas bump day and pole day and things like that, you've just got the one car, so you kind of get both. Do you know what I mean? Like there is that echo of that single car, but then come race day with 33 of them, like that's all you hear. It's just the cars. But to your previous question around the schedule, so quite good. So say pole day, bump day, Saturday, Sunday. They'll run practice Monday, which is
not the year I was there.
Oh, was it Tuesday then? Was it?
No. So the year 2011, I think that the Monday practice only came in when they fiddled with the qualifying format in 2014.
Yeah, okay.
2014, I think was the first year. 2011, they had, so bump day was. Do you remember when cars weren't running, they just sent the cars out for practice sessions?
Yeah.
So when cars weren't trying to qualify, so on the Monday, I think we went to the museum on the Monday.
Yeah, well, and I guess that was going to be the point. It's like, so there's not like a week of track action.
Yeah.
It's very kind of staggered. Even some days with the support categories, they're on track for like 3 hours in the morning and then they close it. So there's opportunities to go to the museum, go to Indianapolis, go check out the Colts Stadium, check out the Pacers Stadium.
We did a couple of tours.
And I think that's the best thing and recommendation to anyone who's looking to go is it's just like soak up the atmosphere in the city. It's a great city at the best of times.
Block out a 2-week period and just try and
if you can have 2 weeks in Indianapolis, that'd be great. You wouldn't be short of things to do. But it's brilliant.
Because the museum, that's got pretty much a lot of the past winners in the museum as well.
Oh, it's got a lot. The year, because 2011 was the 100th anniversary of the first one. And then Daniel went back in 2016, which was the 100th running. And I mean, 2011, like Roger Penske brought his collection of cars there. I mean, there was just a lineup of red and white. I mean, there was Ray Haroon's 1911 winners in there. Just very, very well set up. But I mean, they've got so many cars that they cycle through it.
Just on Ray Haroon, like just doing a bit of reading up for it and everything like that. There was the one thing I found interesting was that every car in that first race ran a mechanic who was to basically check all the oil pressure and water temp and everything like that and act as a spotter for the driver, whereas Ray Haroon invented the rear vision mirror on the race car pretty much, then ran it by himself, and after that, because he won, they mandated the next year that everyone had to run a mechanic in the car as a spotter because they thought he had a distinct advantage of having obviously, an average body of say between 80 and 100 kilos lighter than everyone else for it there. So
I know it's become popular history that I believe it's been challenged that he actually invented the rear vision mirror. I think it's become like a popular sort of
Is it one of
he
the
applied
American
it, whether
folklores?
yeah.
Is the American folklore like it's the World Series of baseball when it's all American teams? Is it one of those?
Do you know the Marmon Wasp, the car that won the 1911 Indy 500? They in 2016 they actually ran that around the track.
Who drove it?
I'd have to check. There was chat. It was our senior.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think Parnelli drove it in 2011.
Yeah. But anyways, the thing broke down. But it made it a couple of laps around there. But just incredible that 100 years on and it was still kicking.
Well, it's probably going back then. Like originally, it was before hence the brickyard was that it was I think about 3 million bricks were laid after the very first race in 1909. There prior to being a 500 mile race on it there. That how much of the bricks? Obviously, they got the yard of bricks going in, but how far does the yard of bricks go into the infield? Like goes through the pits, obviously.
Yeah, it goes through the pits. It goes into the
Past the pagoda.
Yeah. Does it go into Gasoline Alley?
Well, no, I think where it passes, Gasoline Alley's beyond the start finish line.
Yeah.
So it goes through the pagoda through the infield, but it it stops because where
Doesn't go
the
across
road circuit is, there's no line through that. Yeah.
Because that was the thing. Because on the Dale Jr. Download podcast, they had Roger Penske on for an episode, and they asked talking about the yard of bricks and everything like that, and a bit of the history. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. actually went into the river next to the track. And
there's a little creek that runs under turn 1.
Yeah, he went in there and dug out his own brick that he got from there, where they just tossed them all in there. Apparently, there's clumps where they dumped them from there. So if anyone's wanted to go for a wade in the US near Indianapolis while they're on their trip over there, you can maybe find yourself your own unique brick from the brickyard. So.
But just further to what you do during the week, sort of like you can go to the museum and you can go to the get a tour of we went to Colt Stadium and got a tour of that. There are things to do, but on Thursday it really starts to ramp up. Like I remember Thursday, there were people around earlier in the week, but Thursday it really got busy. I remember the Thursday night we stayed a little bit away from the racetrack.
Beautiful suburb of Broad Ripple.
Went to Broad Ripple, and that just was pumping on the Thursday night. Just all the pubs and all that.
And then
bars in America.
Memorial Day weekend, so people got the long weekend, so come to town and and then Carb Day obviously is when it absolutely takes off.
But the you can't do it anymore, unfortunately. But the Thursday night at the Indianapolis Showground, we went to the Hoosier 100, which was a USAC sprint car race on a mile track.
Is that Lucas Oil Speedway now?
No.
That's another one.
So the Indiana Showground is a dirt track. It's not dirt anymore, but like a harness track fundamentally.
Yeah, no, it was impressive. Yeah,
so was that the Thursday night? That was the Friday night.
Is that 410 non-winged USAC?
Non-wing. That was Friday night, I think.
Yeah, no, I think
because we went to. It was Thursday or Friday, I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think it matters.
But the Saturday night, we went to Lucas Oil Speedway they call it the night before the 500. And that was when you had...
is that US F2000?
Yeah.
Yeah, watch them. Yeah.
Indy...
Which is the third...
wasn't Indy Lights at the time. It was the Infinity Pro Series.
Yeah.
Pro Mazda? Or is that what it is?
Yeah, Pro Mazda as well.
Yeah.
Yep, they had that. They had all three facets. Luke Ellery, actually, an Aussie.
Yeah.
Did he win? Or did he crash?
I can't remember. No, but I remember he featured.
But actually, then they had the USAC midgets at the end of it, and they were fantastic.
Yeah,
silver
incredible.
crown cars.
Such a small oval, but they were absolutely bringing its neck around there.
But our funny story of that is that we got ourselves international phone numbers when we went over there, and then we didn't realise quite how far out of town Lucas Oil Speedway was, and so then the taxi driver came out there, and the taxi driver's all like, "Oh, if you need a lift home, just call me personally. This is my number, and I'll get your numbers." And so we gave him out, and he didn't want a bar of our international phone numbers.
Yeah, it freaked him out.
But it rained out there, and there was probably 2 hours of rain.
Yeah, I was like, we had some tough luck between bump day and this getting caught in massive storms, which is Indianapolis that time of year is known for some pretty crazy weather. There was a tornado warning whilst we were there as well.
Yeah. So we but to dry the track out once it stopped raining, I mean, they got just about every car they could out of the car park. It seemed like they had the tow trucks doing laps of the track to dry it there. I'm sure there were cars refueling and then going back out just to try and dry the track, and it must have finished about 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then
trying to get back into town.
Oh, and then trying to get out of there, and we had to get a taxi home. I think we ended up stealing someone's taxi, unfortunately.
Imagine that being a punter in the crowd, and then I'm sure they put an announcement over the PA and said, "If you got a car, do you want to do some laps to try and dry out the track?" Like for an average American in the town, that's probably like a dream come true.
Get like a nice Black Hawk to hover over.
Oh, that's what they needed. They had the jet dryers out and everything, and
Like
it was just
a couple Chinooks doing laps around.
yeah,
Indy,
they
cool.
they should have. But I mean, after that, by the time it finished about 2 a.m., I mean, we kind of got home till 3:30.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had to be up at 6 to get the bus to the track because it basically was only buses if you want to get into the track on race morning. And I mean, it was just,
But
the whole town just on that weekend, from the Thursday onwards, it's just, I mean, I remember we'd walk to dinner from our accommodation and you'd walk past and guys would be throwing parties. And I mean, they'd invite us in.
Yeah.
They were saying, "Oh, do you want to come in for a beer or do you want to come in for something to eat?" I think when they heard the accent.
But I think that was one thing that I took from as well. It's like people were so accommodating.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? We were a bit kind of like, oh, we probably won't just walk off the street into some guy's house because he asked us to. But I was like, they were completely genuine, so excited.
You hear stories about the American travellers, so to speak, and everything. I mean, the Americans couldn't have been nicer to us.
Host-wise, they're incredible.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
That was going to be my lead in to it. From that was, cool, that's the on track and everything and surrounding motorsport. But you were saying before how the whole town gets into it. Like you just spoke about Thursday, everything ramps up. But how's the town prior to the Thursday before the race? Like, are they, if you go into the main part of Indianapolis, is there, everything's Indy 500 dressed up, everyone's coming into it?
Yeah. So there's signage like the city that this is kind of what they're known for. So they fully embrace it. There's a side of I think it was like a 60, 70 story Marriott hotel that's just got like an Indy 500 sign that went the whole way down the side of it. So yeah, no, everyone's fully for it. Ask you, are you here for the race? Things like that. So good.
It's probably a bit different now, and it's more of a 1 or 2 weekend event.
Yep.
Compared to say in the 90s and earlier when it was a whole month event.
Yep.
I think a lot of people probably just come in for the race these days.
Carb day that weekend.
Yeah, that weekend. So I think
Can you still call it Carb Day now they're all fuel injected, or I know it's the tradition.
They call it Carb Day, not Carburation Day.
Yeah, but still.
But I think it's just a tradition.
Could be to do with your diet or something.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
driver's
the
carb.
driver's
up,
carb up on the Friday.
eat your pasta.
But yeah, it's so like, which is crazy. But in the past, like obviously pole day was second to the race, but now carb day outdraws pole day.
Yeah,
Just because,
Well, that's a few of our thoughts on traditions of the race and some experiences of going there. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have a bit of a chat about the 2020 race.
Interested in supporting the Motor Racing Passion podcast? Head to the link in the description to get your official MRP t-shirt. Your support helps us keep the content coming your way. T-shirts not your style? Grab a travel mug, phone case, or warm hoodie and support the guys and the podcast. Click on the link below or go to redbubble.com and search Motor Racing Passion for our exclusive merchandise.
Welcome back. One thing we didn't touch on before, Daniel, you didn't in the pre-race festivities chat from your times going to the Indy 500 before. Have you got any stories about trying to corner drivers for autographs? Maybe, hearing around maybe a toilet lurking incident at all?
yeah, it's funny you bring that up. But there's been a few instances. First one, 2011, the great Mario Andretti, who drives the 2-seater. he was in Gasoline Alley and walked past me. I remember going to Luke. I'm like, oh, it's Mario. It's Mario, the great man. Anyways, he was heading towards the bathroom. So I was like, oh, opportunities only strike once. So just followed him in there, stood next to him at the trough and sent him my best. And he said thanks.
Did you make eye contact at the trough?
No. I tried to keep it professional. This is royalty in racing. But so I stood next to Mario in the bathrooms, and then obviously we didn't shake hands because that would have been obviously pre-coronavirus, but that wouldn't have
Didn't cross
been-
swords.
been-
No, just unsanitary.
It's
No,
not
no.
hygienic.
We were our 1 meter apart, but still. So that was a highlight, seeing Mario.
So you didn't mid-stream go, hey, can you sign this?
No. Kept it all business.
No sword fights?
No, nothing. Just respect between two motor racing enthusiasts. So so that was a highlight.
Did you get his autograph in the end?
So I didn't get him an autograph there. Years later, I got his autograph.
So you toilet lurked him
Chatted to him.
just so you could stand at a trough next to him.
Yeah, exactly. And, well, I didn't.
That's
I didn't
not
think,
weird at all.
I didn't think I'd ever get this opportunity again.
Yeah.
So do you know what I mean? Like I saw him and it just kind of took over me. So I was like, oh yeah.
So what you're saying is you can go to the toilet with the heroes of Indy cars
Yeah,
if you're on the right day.
That's what I'm saying. The beautiful thing about the Indianapolis 500, and that is you get your bronze badge, which is basically just your pit pass. And you can walk all over. You can walk into people's garages. Actually, continuing my Andretti kind of fascination. So ticked off Mario 2011, then 2016. It was one of the practice days, and with your bronze badge, you can basically walk all the way onto or up to pit road. Obviously, there's the divider, the pit wall. But basically, I stood right next to the pit stands there, watched people do pit stops, car changes, the drivers jumping out, spoke to Tags, and then I walked down, Alex Tagliani, then I walked down to Marco Andretti, and obviously Michael was there on the pit stand, just leant over. I said, oh, Michael, can you sign my program? No worries. Had a quick chat. He was good for that. Then Marco, after he was done in the golf cart, drove, like they've got these little metal fencing type things. He drove his golf cart into that and he just shouted, he's like, oh, can you give me a hand? So I yanked the metal fence from under the wheel of his golf cart. And then he said, thank me for that, signed my autograph, then had a crack at my pen, said I needed to get a new pen. It's like, thanks, champ. And so there was 3 Andrettis in the space of 5 years. But it just shows you how the interaction that do you know what I mean? Formula One races, sports car races, you just don't get that. Whereas here, you were just walking, side by side or, as we said, in the bathrooms. So
You do have to take the chances
when you get them.
when you get them. I remember when we were there 2011, me and Daniel were just walking through the just the shopping mall in the middle of downtown Indianapolis, and we're walking along, and I've seen someone walking on the other side of the other side of the shops. Well, someone goes, geez, that looks a lot like Willie T. Ribs. And anyway, I sort of watched him go, and I've gone, ever since then I've been like, that probably was Willie T. Ribs. And even if it wasn't, I should have just gone up anyway and said, oh, you Willie T.
Yeah.
And the other one was 2015 Australian Grand Prix, where on the Thursday where there's no me and Daniel went to that one as well. On the Thursday when there's no on-track action for the F1 cars, but they did the sort of an on-stage thing. And remember, we went to walk up onto the top of the pit building, and this golf cart comes rushing up the side, and then Nico Rosberg hops out, and they whisk him sort of straight through into the paddock area. But I mean, if I suppose we could have tried to snap in a photograph or a quick autograph or something in that, and no one would have really got that. We were lucky enough to be there at the time.
But that's probably a unique thing to the American ovals, and a lot of the American tracks, rather IndyCar or NASCAR go to, is there's no garages on the pit lane. They're in what they call gasoline alley back in Indianapolis, or in the infield for it there. But how close you can get up to actually, on the crew chief box or to see the pit stops. I think here in Australia, you go to Bathurst, Sydney Motorsport Park, or Eastern Creek, as majority of people still call it. For it there, you can go to the back of the garage and maybe on like a lower key outside of supercars meeting, you can go into the garages and look at the cars, touch them, do that sort of thing for them, and you can't actually get out into the pit lane to watch what's going on. But that's pretty cool experience to, just in practice, walk up to like Michael Andretti in his pit box doing that.
Yeah.
Any of them there. That's pretty cool to see.
Well, and it was a thing, like, it just kind of happened. Like, there was no explanation what you could and couldn't do, but it was just like, oh, I don't know about this, but
take your opportunity.
Yeah. I'll wait for someone to tell me not to do it. Even to the point that I walked up to where pit lane exited back onto the track, and basically, standing basically on the inside of turn one, as the cars are flying in there at 380, 370 kilometers an hour, and that was the most impressive thing. I was 50 meters away from where they're actually turning into the apex of corner one. So, yeah, incredible. We could actually, we'll post some of those videos up on the Motor Racing Passion Facebook page, just to give people like an appreciation of how close you can actually get, and the sounds and the visuals.
We'll get them up and keep checking the page, because we put a lot of different photos and things like that up there from all types of motorsport.
Was it 2011 the year the Hot Wheels jump in the trophy truck was?
Yep, Reese Millen.
Yep.
No, we wondered what that big thing was.
Looking like a Hot Wheels track.
Yeah, that was up there, and they sort of, no one really said much about it. Then on race morning, they did the jump. Then he did the jump and landed, and then he spun off into the sand trap on the F1 course, and they left the car there all race. It was sitting on the inside of the oval, in the sand trap. Just left it there all race. So what would be your favourite 500 race car in the history of the event?
As I said before, 2005 711 car.
Yeah. So you'd be liking the Tony Kanan's 2014 car. Sorry, 2020 car, number 14 from this year.
Yeah, but the 2005 cars looked better.
Yeah.
The Dallara IR05, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, they were a good-looking car. Favourite livery is probably the Pagano one from last year, the Fluoro.
Yeah, Menards colour scheme.
Surprise. How are you?
Fluoro yellow.
Yeah.
How about you, Adam?
For me, it's toss up for that between the Valvoline Alanza cars.
Yep.
For that's a very iconic car from Indy there, or just the Marlboro Penske cars over the years. Like, as you said, you can almost look at it thinking it's a McLaren Marlboro car.
What about a Marlboro Patrick car?
Oh, well, Marlboro looks good, and there wasn't much difference from it, but just just from the perspective of a Penske car for it there.
The only difference was the Patrick car was number 20.
Yeah. But, yeah, for them, out of them, there were just two good-looking cars, and as I said earlier, I think that was my favourite kind of shape and everything of the cars from there.
How about you, Daniel?
So the 1980 winner, the Pennzoil Chaparral, Johnny Rutherford taking the checker that year. Just the advancements of technology, and when that one dropped, obviously taking in the correct me here, Luke, but the Venturis under the
ground effects.
Ground effects. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, and just obviously the car was in another league.
Yeah.
But to get that through, so I think that obviously just shifted the game to another level. But also, so just that technological, the Pennzoil colours there looked an absolute treat. And I'm always a bit of a JR fan too.
Yeah. Mine would be from a similar period. The 82 Gordon Johncock Wildcat would be my favourite. So the STP colours, and I always thought, and the 82 race would be one of my favourite races as well. But it'd be up there. But I'd say my favourite Indy race would be the 91 Indy 500 or the 93. It's a hard choice. 93 was very good. The only problem with 93 was that was the race when Channel 9 didn't show it. So it took me many, many years before I actually got to see that race because Channel 9 had some contract problems, which is a shame because they were going to show qualifying in 93 as well. But due to some contract problems with the track, they didn't end up showing anything. So it took me a long time before I saw it. But it was a really good race. But I think 1991, Rick Mears' fourth win, his battle with Michael Andretti at the end.
I reckon that takes it. That the way he ran him down put a move on.
And the way he worked on the car all race.
Yeah.
Like he was sort of nowhere earlier on and he just worked his way through. So that's probably my favourite race. What about you, Daniel?
Oh, it's been, do you know what I mean? When you think of 100 plus races, so obviously from a personal point of view, it was a pretty dud race, but Will Power winning 2018, that was massive.
It was a proper race though.
It was a proper race, yeah. It's just compared to when we talk of Mears running down Andretti on the last stint of the race. 2014, so Hunter Ray and Castro Evers, and the move that Hunter Ray pulled off into turn 3 was probably one of the ballsiest things I've seen on a racetrack at those speeds.
I thought 2015 was quite good as well.
Yeah, Power Montoya going head to head.
The last stint was pretty.
That was and even so, those last 10 laps they swapped positions, so that's a very good mention.
That's quite good.
95 when you go Villeneuve coming from 2 laps back, that's pretty incredible.
It's pretty unheard of, like for that, because you got done for what, speeding in the pit lane was one, and then
didn't he overtake someone on
the pace car?
Yeah. But it just the way he chipped away, but that was super, super impressive.
Because that was the last year before the split, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then 96 until late 2000.
2008 was
the
first one back.
Reunification,
But
if you want to call it that.
A lot of the kart teams had come back
to do
2000, 2001, 2002. So.
Yeah. So, and then, go through what, Jimmy Clark, 65 winning, like that's, there's so many.
Yeah.
So many good
Graham
ones.
Hill as well.
66. Yeah, he took the lead off Jackie Stewart with not long to go. How about you, Brock?
Any race with Montoya in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
2000.
So 2000 or 2015?
I liked 15.
15, yeah.
Yep. But if it's got Montoya in it,
Yeah.
it's my favourite Indy 500.
Well, he only did. He did 2000. He did 2000.
But that's what made him so
14,
special.
14, 15, 16, 17.
That's what made him special.
Yeah.
Did he do 17? I don't think he did.
Yeah.
Oh, he did? Who did?
He did the Fitzgerald number 22.
Oh, yeah.
I think he finished fifth.
Yeah.
He,
good call.
he was the 5th car that year.
Good call. And then, that's when, and then Penske dropped him.
Yeah. How about you, Adam?
Well, for me, looking at it there, said before, big Al Junior fan back in the day for it, 92, where he won, pipped, just looking at the notes I took for it there, I think it was 0.043 seconds, the winning margin by for it there. That was a pretty iconic close race for it there, but even come back to 2006, that's probably another one that sticks in my mind with Sam Hornish Jr.
He drove a ripper last couple of laps.
Yeah, to get in. I think there was a caution, safety car caution was thrown, I think, inside the last 15 laps in there, and just, came onto the race, last corner, got a good run for it there. I think Michael Andretti and the Andretti green cars were in, I think they were in the top 3 of them were in the top 5 in that. But yeah, just a good run come off it. And I think it was another eight years before another American won. After that, it was all internationals from there.
Well, actually, if we just to flick back to something, I mean, in the fact you mentioned there about the Americans winning, over many years you kept reading things about saying the problem with the popularity of American open wheel racing was the fact that Americans weren't winning or weren't in a lot of the front running seats. But I mean, one thing I picked up from going to the 2011 Indy 500 was how popular Tony Kanaan and Helio Castroneves were.
Yeah, huge.
I mean, the crowd didn't really cheer louder for anyone other than them.
Yeah.
To the point where Danica Patrick would get roundly booed.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. So
it was 50-50. There was they were divided. Yeah, they were
but
divided.
late in the race, so she took the lead with probably 10 laps to go. The way the fuel cycles all worked out.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there were a lot of boos where we were sitting in the crowd. And then Bertrand Baguette, fundamentally an unknown Frenchman, and definitely unknown to a lot of the crowd, I'm sure, he passed her and took the lead with about probably 6 or 7 laps to go. And I mean, the crowd just cheered. So
I think it was really parochial in terms of people have either loved her or hated her.
Yeah.
And
Do you think that was because of how blunt she would come? Like, she was a racer in that she was like very much, she just spoke her mind.
Yeah, no, but from the experience we had, it was just people. Obviously, she got promoted quite heavily by IndyCar at the time because, do you know what I mean? And
Trying to get
yeah, which quite fair enough. And obviously some people took exception to that. They didn't feel like she'd earned it. So to be honest, I think it was people just feeling threatened that here was this
But I think as we
lady
said,
being super successful and
I think as we said earlier, if you can land it on the 33 for what you have to do to make it in the 33, that's enough there.
yeah, do you know what I mean?
You've earned your spot.
She went within 4 laps of winning in 2005 as well. So yeah, look, just quickly on it though, and I think a cool story in that as well was Uncle Bobby's last win.
Yeah.
But that was decided 3 months after, or a couple of legal battles. I think
Bobby Rahal.
No, Uncle Bobby Unser.
Oh, Bobby Unser.
Yeah, so it was him, and he passed Mario or someone.
No, he'd worked out that he'd found a loophole in the rule where the pit lane ended.
Yeah.
So generally, people said, well, where the end of the pit lane is at the end of the wall into turn 1, that's the end of the pit lane. But the rule said you had to stay on the apron.
Infield.
On the apron through turn 1, turn 2. So then he said, well, if I stay on the apron, then I'm technically in pit lane. So he drove out and he passed all these cars on the apron to come out. So initially he was disqualified after the race for passing cars under yellow. He passed probably 10 cars or something.
But he got awarded the trophy, did he? And then he
on the day,
yeah.
The next morning when they released the official results, they announced Mario Andretti as the winner. So then
there was an
Bobby
appeals
Unser protest appealed, and eventually there was footage that showed that Mario did the same thing. So whether they then gave Mario the same penalty they gave Bobby Unser, or whether they just threw out Bobby Unser's penalty, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no. So from what I've read, then basically they just reinstated Bobby, so it was Bobby then Mario.
Really, from an Australian point of view, they should have thrown out Bobby and Mario, and Australian Vern Schuppen would have won because he came third. But so moving forward to the 2020 race, who coming up this weekend? Who's your favourite to win?
So, looking at how the season's kind of been going at the moment, can't look past Scott Dixon at the moment. Ironic in terms of with the victories that he's had early on in the 2020 season, he's now the second most winningest driver behind AJ Foyt. Yet he's only got one Indianapolis 500 win, and that was 12 years ago.
I think he's I'm sort of the same. I think he's about due.
He's due, and he's looking good. He's got the new engineer working on the 9 car. So he, in terms of pre-race favourites, he's looking very good.
Yep.
And obviously Joseph Newgarden is not far away too. He's the only
but it's about his turn to win.
Yeah,
if you drive for a Penske, they seem to share it around.
Yeah. So
how about you, Brock?
Pagino.
Yeah.
Love him. Love his car. So I'm going to back my man.
Does the fact he won last year have anything to do with it?
No,
or is it just the colour of the car?
It's the colour of the car. I like him. I've just got a feeling. Yeah, he's going to back it.
I do love the Menards paint job. Always have. Even when they were fluoro green with Quaker State, or they were dark blue with John Mansville, or the original bright yellow ones back in the early 90s. How about you, Adam?
Well, yeah, I guess you can't go off the form so far. Like Dixon's been, out front, especially on the ovals, out front there. Being an Aussie, I'd like to see Will Power get up there, but him and his Penske just haven't had the speed so far there. Like he's been up and about.
Steady.
No luck.
He has been on pole. He's led
You've
races.
upset Daniel now.
I have.
You've upset Daniel.
But like,
you can have a go at his consistency, but you can't have a go at his speed. That's outrageous.
well, I guess to justify my answer in that meaning in his speed.
Back pedal.
In that, like encompassing where the whole race so far in that, like I know coming out at Texas at the first race probably wasn't a good a good form guide, laying off there. He was towards the front, but then he did have the pit stop issue there for that, and then obviously going off at Road America, he had his issue on the Saturday, and then a few errors on the Sunday.
Finished second on the Saturday.
Yeah, but if he didn't have that issue on the Saturday and the pit stop,
he would have won.
Good chance he would have won for it there. But I guess that you can't really discount any of the Ganassi cars at there. I guess we'll see how it go this year with Roger Penske owning Indy this year.
Yeah.
Like that'll be a big thing. First Indianapolis there for it's at. So I reckon it would shape up to be a good race. And they always throw out that that you always get an odd car at the front.
Yeah, my dark horse is really random. He's Ericsson.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't know.
Yeah, no, quality team.
He's got a Ganassi car, so
Yeah.
So how about Helio for the 11th time? He'll be going for his 4th win. Do you think he's got a chance?
And maybe his final time too.
You don't think he might go to another team?
I'd be surprised. You see, like looking at TK, how he's Tony Kanan's been going. I think watching that he'd be reluctant to go unless it's a Ganassi or one of those top teams. How will he go? I think he'll be up there.
I think he's got a chance if you're in a Penske.
Yeah.
And if you only need to be somewhere for the last yellow, and if he's got a good setup, he can.
Yeah, so the only thing looking at last year was he just struggled with not being in the car week in, week out kind of thing. So you never rule him out. But I think when you're looking at that Penske team and you've got Joseph, Pagenaud, and then Power along with Dixon, I just think it's going to be hard for him.
Would you have thought after 2009 we'd still be asking, is he going to get a 4th in 2020?
Yeah, no, that's to win 3 that quickly.
He had won 3 in his first 9, and then he's had nothing since.
It's the beauty of the Speedway, Luke. It doesn't owe you anything.
Yeah. What about, how do you reckon Alonso will go, Adam?
I think he'll have a chance. Can he grab the Triple Crown? That's probably, I guess, everyone's first thing they always ask when you see his name on the entry list for it there. Can he repeat what Graham Hill did for it there? Will we see it again if he does pull it off? Will we see another driver do it in the modern day, especially harder now that Monaco and the Indy 500 on the same weekend?
Yeah.
For it there.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, usually for it there. Obviously not this year.
Yeah.
For it there, but yeah, anything can happen in Indy, as they say. So
might be his last chance with him going back to Renault next year.
Potentially, but I think it's also worth mentioning. Let's hope Montoya gets his Le Mans entry in.
That's good.
He might beat him to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Montoya, he's one of my favourites. But I mean, Alonso was in with a good chance in 2018 until his engine expired, wasn't he?
Yeah.
17. Yeah.
17, sorry.
So you're going to stay up all night to watch this weekend's race, Brock, or
I will. I will.
Monday off work?
Try and sneak half a day off work,
Yeah.
which will probably turn into a full day. Yeah, screw it. Why not?
Yeah.
There you go. Commit.
Whole day off.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you, Adam?
Yeah, I think I'll get up and give it a watch this year for that. Usually, previously, I've kind of either taped it and watched it the following night for it there. But yeah, I think with the this year being a little bit different for it's at, why not stay up or get up early and watch it from there. So
Well, look, the race is starting a little bit later in America, 2:30 start, which will be, I would reckon, about 5:30 Australian time, 4:30, 5:30 Australian time.
Yeah, give or take.
For the start of the race, which is a bit later than normal, but still worth the stay up all night. Have you got like a special tradition, Daniel, to stay up all night before watching the start of the race?
When it was at 2:30, so obviously that's kind of doesn't give you one option or the other. You kind of caught, so I'd usually stay up. If it's at 4:30, I think I'll just
get
Well,
up,
sleep and get up and go for it. But yeah, usually
you can team it up with the Monaco Grand Prix.
yeah,
Yes.
and then usually trail it into the Coke 600.
Yeah, so
if you can.
You know what?
Yeah,
On all
you
this,
can.
you have to take Monday off work, don't you?
Yeah.
There's no way you can do all 3 of them and
No.
go to work on Monday.
Yeah.
that was always the perfect run in. Yeah, go
Yeah.
Monaco Grand Prix into that. Yeah, as a standalone this year, I think it'll be just time your run.
A special Indy this year.
Yeah, and then just build up in the couple of days beforehand, watching some previous races. Yeah.
Well, just before we go, is there a favourite quote that sort of just sums up what the Indy 500, what means to you? Like what gets you going? What gets you excited for the race?
One that I enjoy listening to, always puts a smile on my face, is Will Power's slowdown lap after winning the 2018 race. him and his crew chief, I think it's Dave Faustino, congratulating each other on the radio. And as he's driving down, he just screams like at the top of his lungs, like manic. And then he utters the words, "Show me respect, motherfuckers," which there's some great video on YouTube, which you should type in Willpower 2018 radio, and you can have a listen to it as well. But he's spoken about it since, and he goes, for him, it just meant so much that he was like, he'd won the second amount of most poles in IndyCar. He's in the top 6 most race winners, but he felt like his career didn't mean anything until he won the Indy 500. And I think that just emphasizes the importance of the race and how much it values to drivers. So, put a smile on your face. Have a listen to that. It's incredible.
Yeah. What about you, Brock?
Well, you got all the build-up. I'd say it's the biggest build-up of any race in the world because it's American.
Yep.
And, all the hype, national anthem, fly, everything. And then, gentlemen, start your engines. And then that's it. It's all the build-ups over. You go on racing, I reckon those 4 words, I know they're used widely in oval racing, but they're so iconic for that event.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
my favourite 4
and the
words.
whole crowd just blows up after it.
Yeah, I love it, because that's it. Like, we are going
it's on.
racing.
It's on now.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. What about you, Adam?
Yeah, well, for me, one I found earlier and one that we've been speaking about through before, but one was Bobby Unser, how he comes out and said, success is where preparation and opportunity meet for that. So I guess that kind of sums up a bit what Indy's there. And then one, speaking about my favourite race where we spoke about before, 92, with it, Al Unser Jr. For that. For that there, it goes, you just don't know what Indy means after he won. I guess, couple him with that shows what it means to him.
That was when he was talking to Jack Arute in Victory Lane. And what did Jack Arute ask him? It was...
Yeah, it's when Alan started to have some tears in his eyes. And he goes, "You're pretty emotional." He's like, "Is that some tears I can see?" Yeah. And then he added that line. And that's very, very telling. Yeah.
Especially as we found out in many years past just how much it meant to him.
Yeah.
Well, actually, my quote was from 92, Al Jr. as well, but from the ABC pre-race show, with the great Delta Force theme behind it, was where he goes, he's Al Jr., when they ask him a question, he replies that when it comes to winning the Indy 500, he goes, money doesn't matter, living doesn't matter, winning's the only thing that matters. I think that sums up what it means, what people are willing to risk.
And 3 hours later,
doing the race.
Yeah.
And 3 hours later he did. Okay, well, that'll about do us for today's podcast. Make sure you tune in to Fox Sports on Monday morning Australian time to watch the 2020 Indy 500 live. Please also make sure you're subscribed to this podcast and give us a rating and spread the word to your family and friends. And head to our Facebook and Instagram page to give us a like and a follow. Search Motor Racing Passion on Facebook, and on Instagram search Motor Racing Passion as one word, all in lowercase. On both platforms, in addition to the podcast information, we've got a great archive of family photos we're putting up from the last 30 plus years of attending race meetings. And this week we've added a bunch of pictures from our Indy 500 trips in the past. On behalf of Daniel, Adam and Brock, I'm Luke Blattman. Thank you for listening and join us again soon for the next podcast. Motor Racing Passion is produced by Luke Ryan for Tum Drum Media.